Hey guys, it's your number one ghost host.
And your Disney detective, Greg and Chris.
We have assembled.
Dun dun dun.
There's only 2 Avengers here.
But that's all we need.
We are
right?
The Avengers.
The actual Avengers need what? 5 or 6?
Yeah.
2, the duo. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
pretty
us.
much.
The Disney duo.
Pretty much.
Hey, like that.
Yes.
I just thought of that right now.
Right here.
Yeah, Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Superman
Peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly.
I didn't know what else you were going to go with.
I don't know. I was thinking there's so many things that fly through my head. But yeah, just things that work very well together and can create harmony. It's
Yes.
Greg and Chris right here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Hey guys, we are back.
My Disney addiction. Thank you for joining us. Visually, audioly. Is that a word? Audibly.
Audibly.
We're glad to have you. Finger guns all day.
Put those away.
Holstered it.
All right, guys. So we are back, and we are good to go. Keep moving forward here. We're going to be continuing our... It's not March Madness.
No, it's
Marvel
not.
Madness
It's April.
anymore. It's April. But like I was saying before, if you haven't checked in, we're going to be doing Marvel throughout this year. It's been a year since Endgame came out. Not exactly a year, but
give or take.
you get the point. We're going to be going through all the Marvel movies of the first 4 phases, and then we're going to be talking about them. Not continuously for 22, 23 movies.
That'd be crazy, yo.
No, they're going to overarch. We're going to do phase 1, other stuff, phase 2, other stuff, etc., etc. So we're going to be wrapping up phase 1.
Tying it into a nice little neat bow here in the start of April. And do you know what April showers bring, Chris?
Mud?
No. Well, I mean, they bring pilgrims.
What?
Pilgrims.
I thought you were going to say Mayflowers.
Yeah, because the pilgrims rode the Mayflower over to the New World.
Oh, jeez.
There you go. I think,
That was good. That was a funny.
That was a good laugh. That was a good laugh.
It's not as
Not as good as the laugh that we had last episode.
the last episode, guys. If you have not seen it,
Oh,
go back
please do.
about 3/4 of the way
Oh
through
my
the show. Me and Greg, or Greg and I, however you're supposed to say it,
Go for either.
we had probably the biggest gut laugh we've ever had. I've never seen Greg laugh this much. He's never seen me laugh this.
No, this was a first time deal. First time.
And you guys got to experience it. It was the first time we were in tears. I had to put my hat over my face because I was laughing so hard.
I know. And then my voice went up 2 octaves.
Oh my goodness.
Because I couldn't talk.
It was some of the best stuff.
It was
you guys,
great.
Go back,
Please.
watch the last one.
Link is in the description.
It
please.
was hysterical.
Oh my lord. It was.
Yeah, but don't worry. We sacrificed for you guys.
Yes, we did. We sacrificed.
No, according to Greg, we didn't sacrifice because we didn't die.
We were willing to sacrifice, in my eyes.
But that's not sacrificing.
No, it's not.
Whatever. So, as we continue here today, guys, we're going to be wrapping everything up with phase 1. We're talking about Avengers. This, to me, is okay, holy cow. Marvel knows what they're doing. They're going to bring everything together. This took the idea of a team-up movie to the next level. Honestly, I love Lord of the Rings and things like that, but even that was not as... personally, for me, this is not as epic. That was not as epic as this.
Well, plus you had a great build-up. How many years to get to this, and finally everyone's on this, the same screen? It's
What?
Yeah, my mind was it was overwhelmed, to say the least.
It's one of those things where it's every single movie, it's is it going to be as good as this? And
right. You have that following it.
Oh my gosh, this movie... I watched it today. Well, not today. So I watched it... Oh, yeah, I mean, technically I watched it today, even though this is coming out a couple weeks from now. I watched this today.
Oh, wow. Okay. Chris is getting prepared, guys.
Yeah.
He was getting really prepared.
Got to crack that neck.
Yeah, man.
Just totally ruined everything my chiropractor did.
Don't worry. That's why you keep him employed. Keep coming back.
Yep. So I watched this movie today with my wife and my kids. My daughter wasn't really paying attention. She was playing on her little tablet, and my 3-month-old didn't really care. So, but me and my wife watched it again. Oh my gosh, you guys. I watched this movie again, and I'm just like, I love this movie like as much as I loved it when I first saw it. It was like, holy cow, how can something that was however many years ago, it still is like, holy smokes, this is a great movie.
Did Avengers come out in 2012 or right? I think it was 8 years ago. This is 2020 for those of you watching in the future, or the people watching now. You just think I'm crazy, but yeah.
Yeah,
it's in 2012, I think.
We're gonna worry about the time travel thing when we get to Endgame.
Oh yeah, don't get us started on that.
So I mean, there's a scene in that movie that is awesome. Don't worry about that. We're getting there.
We'll get there, folks.
This movie, amazing. Like you guys clearly see where I'm going with this. I could keep going on that rant a little bit.
So why don't we quick movie recap here? We're gonna try to keep it to a minimal amount of time because we want to talk about some of our favorite scenes, other things in the movie, take a deeper dive. So we'll do a quick little recap. And Chris, why don't you start? Since
well, before we do that, why don't you go ahead and tell us the lineup for the actors?
Yes, how can I forget?
Actors, actresses.
So this one's a star-studded cast, as per usual, but even more. This is like, if you were to take our star, that's like what a stage 6G red dwarf giant. We're talking about like a blue dwarf. Like it's huge, it's massive. A lot of things are going on. Probably am putting the astronomers here to shame.
Why don't you
here
put
with
that
analogy.
here so I can actually?
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, me and my selfishness. So apparently, the first person that's coming up on the list is Black Widow.
Scarlett Johansson.
ScarJo. That's my nickname for her. I don't know if you share that, but it's ScarJo.
I call her SJ.
Ooh, even shorter.
SJ. What up, SJ? Me and her are on first name basis.
Or first and last initial name basis.
Yes.
Right?
Those things.
Yeah, so she just calls you CW.
Yeah, so we're talking about Scarlett Johansson here as Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Returning to the screen.
Natasha Romanoff.
And then we have... Oh, wait. What?
I was saying that with a different haircut, because she has a different haircut every new movie that Black Widow
Yeah, she has a shorter haircut.
She does.
Still reddish.
Right, but not that long, like, curly look. You know, that
from Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2, that's right. She's coming back, large and in charge with a different haircut, saying, hey, I mean business.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the inevitable, the legend, the myth, the one that started everything.
The Mineral Man.
Mineral Man.
Right, because iron's a mineral. A mineral. Iron's a minimal.
It's a minimal mineral.
Yes, a minimal mineral, folks. You've heard it here. Yeah.
Robert Downey freaking Jr.
Now I also call him by his initials. So RDJ.
RDJ
in his house.
Yeah, what up?
And then you have Captain America.
Yeah,
Chris
Captain
Evans.
America.
Red, white, and blue. Chris Evans. Oh, that guy has a chiseled jawline, if I do say so myself.
And then we have a
newcomer,
as Tony Stark calls him in the movie, the angry green rage monster.
Yes.
We have Mark Ruffalo playing Dr. Bruce Banner.
That's right,
aka Hulk.
Now it's a little bit different because the solo standalone Hulk movie.
So technically, we had Iron Man, then we had the Incredible Hulk, then Iron Man 2.
Right.
We did not cover the Incredible Hulk.
It's good that we bring this up
because we felt that in some ways there are things in the movie that correlate to this, but we thought we would stick with the Mark Ruffalo one, so that's why we didn't really touch that one at all, except in previous mentions in some form or fashion. But Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is who we're going to be talking about.
Correct, yes. And then next we have Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton, a.k.a. Hawkeye.
Yep.
You saw him first in a quick cameo in Thor. He was working with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson, maybe trying to incapacitate that angry Thor that was running through that hamster level stage
maze.
Yes, exactly. In the New Mexico desert.
It wasn't a maze. It was like two ends that kind of curved and then a circle.
Yeah, so it made like a backward X. Or sorry, S.
Yeah, but it was like an S with a dome in the middle of the S.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't really a maze. It was more just like a tunnel.
No.
Mouse wheel
Exit, yeah. So, I mean, nothing too difficult, but anyway.
We have one of the guys that has stolen the hearts of fans everywhere for Marvel, and that is, let's see if you guys guess. Wrong.
Oh, come on, guys.
It is Tom Holland.
That build up, that was so epic. You got us. You got it going. You were building up to it. Tom, yes, you had it right, but then you put it.
I'm wrong.
Spider-Man came in so early.
It's true.
Wow, maybe he was just swinging in the background back and forth.
He was actually in the movie in a different part of the universe.
Don't save it.
So let me rephrase that. It is not Tom Holland. It was actually Tom Hiddleston. Holland, Hiddleston. A few different letters exchanges. Age, height, difference.
But still totally two different heroes.
I mean, both of them stole a lot of people's hearts. So let's not kid about that.
Honestly, though, really.
It was Tom Hiddleston, Loki.
Laufey?
Not Laufey, Loki.
Darn it.
And
okay, going up next we have Nick Fury, the orchestrator of the Avengers initiative.
Sam Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson. He'll always be. Well, I mean, honestly, he was a driving factor in my childhood. Mace Windu in Star Wars, Frozone in Incredibles.
I was thinking of Pulp Fiction, but okay.
I've never seen that movie, so I can't relate.
This is a good cheeseburger.
A quarter pounder on rye? I have no idea what I'm saying.
Okay, never mind. We have Gwyneth Paltrow returning as Pepper Potts.
Yes, that's right. The PP.
Yep.
And then, of course, for voice only in this Avengers movie, Paul Bettany as Jarvis. Good old Jarvis.
All right, Greg. And who's the next one?
I'm reading as, Colby Smulders. For those of you How I Met Your Mother fan. She's
Robin Scherbatsky.
That's right. That's her name.
A.K.A. Robin Sparkles.
Oh, that's right. Let's go to the mall.
Today.
That's our little attempt at a bit of a duo. But
Yep.
she plays, is it Mariah? Mariah Hill?
Agent Mariah Hill.
Agent Mariah Hill.
Yep. And then we have Stellan Skarsgård.
Stellan Skarsgård.
Whatever. I don't do names.
That one.
But he is Dr. Oh my God. Eric Selvig. Selvig. There you go. I knew I had it.
And then
we have, let's take a look if we
Yeah, I know. For a second, it says Lou Ferrigno as Hulk, but he's not the Hulk in that. Lou Ferrigno was the original Hulk actor in the TV show back like in the 70s and 80s. Guy was a monster beast, like no muscle paddings at all. That guy, he was a bodybuilder. They just painted him green. I remember one of my favorite Mr. Rogers episodes. This is a little bit of a derail, but still, very fitting. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you know him? Yeah. Crazy. I mean, I remember, he did an episode where he went to the set of the Hulk TV show. They met Lou Ferrigno as he was getting ready. I just remember them putting on the prosthetics as he was talking with Mr. Rogers. Yeah, great episode. Highly recommend it. It's 10 out of 10. Probably the biggest and best Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood episode that I remember. A little fun fact for you. That's a Greg fact.
And then we also have as one of the...
Oh, wow. What? Thor's pretty deep in there. And Chris Hemsworth, of course.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth, Thor. He's pretty far down on this list.
Yeah, according to the Google casting.
Yep. We also have Clark Gregg as the inevitable Agent Coulson.
Yes.
Rest in peace for this movie.
Oh my goodness. That was a shock. That hurt me.
He doesn't die. He's still alive.
Good.
S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show.
Spin-off. Magic.
Mm-hmm. All right. And I think that's pretty much it for all the main characters.
Right.
Unless you're seeing anybody else that I don't see here. No, I don't see anybody else of note.
It's just a long list of other extras and supporting characters.
All right, Greg. So
yeah, what's up?
Do you want me to do the recap really quick?
Why don't you?
Okay.
Go for it, and I'll interject if need be.
Okay, so in Thor, the end of that movie, Nick Fury has the Tesseract, Dr. Selvig, and Hawkeye kind of watching over it. They're doing their business, trying to figure out what's going on with this. They think it's a potential way to get usable, like essentially forever sustaining usable energy, because the Tesseract is pure energy.
The ultimate quest.
So in the beginning of Avengers, you see you see Hawkeye, you see Dr. Selvig, you see Agent Hill, you see Nick Fury, all trying to figure out what's going on with this Tesseract. Hawkeye says, hey, isn't this supposed to be a doorway? And Nick Fury's like, yeah, and Hawkeye's like, well, doors open from both sides. And then it just so happens, BAM! Here comes Loki.
Speak of the devil. The guy who died in the Thor movie. He back, and his, let me tell you, his pale skin with that slick back hair, he's looking menacing.
And so he has his staff. He takes over some control. He takes control of Hawkeye and Dr. Selvig. Takes the Tesseract. They go away. Nick Fury's like, hey, we got to get the Avengers initiative going again. So they get that going. After that, we get things going on with Iron Man. And then we have things going on with Captain America. And then they're trying to... And then you have Natasha Romanoff. You have, Dr. Banner. So to make a long story short, they assemble them all together. See what I did there? So they bring them together. And so they're trying to be like, hey, you got to help out. Loki needs to get essentially this metal that comes from asteroids. That's what Dr. Selvig says, because when you use the Tesseract, it's very unstable. And in the beginning scenes, it essentially caves in and collapses in the entire fortress. So they need this specific metal to make it stable. So Loki has to go to Germany. He has Hawkeye and some other agents steal the metal while Loki creates a distraction. Iron Man, Natasha Romanoff, and Captain America, they end up coming. They get Loki to surrender. Loki comes on to the hovering ship fortress thing. They put him in like a gigantic container. And, sorry, I missed something. As they're transporting Loki back, they see some thunder. They're like, oh, man, and Captain America looks back at Loki, and Loki, he's like, you scared of a little bit of thunder? And Loki's like, I'm not too fond of what follows. Mm-hmm. And then Thor comes on. Yeah, Thor comes on, takes Loki, and they fly out. Iron Man, Captain America, there's so many good lines in this movie, but Captain America says to Iron Man before he jumps out, hey, we need a plan of attack. And Iron Man's like, I have a plan. Attack. And so they leave. And then Captain America puts on like a parachute, and Natasha's like, hey, you might want to sit this one out, Cap. These guys are pretty much gods. Yep. And then Captain America's like, there's only one god, ma'am, and I'm sure he doesn't dress like that. And so they're kind of having a little spat back and forth. Eventually, Thor's like, okay, cool, we'll let you do that and bring him back. They bring him back. Dr. Banner, Iron Man, is trying to figure out what the Tesseract is. One of my favorites, we'll get to that. Actually, I just got to do a quick recap.
Keep it in. Yeah, that's right.
So they get the Tesseract there. Eventually, Hawkeye blows up one of the engines on the ship.
Yeah, one of the turbines.
One of the turbines, so that goes down, and so they're trying to get this all figured out. The Hulk goes crazy. I mean, Dr. Banner turns into the Hulk. It's going crazy. Iron Man.
And he's contained a contained Hulk. Better watch out. He's going to do mass destruction.
Not good. So Iron Man, Cap trying to fix the turbine.
Right.
You have Natasha Romanoff trying to run away from the Hulk. Eventually, Thor comes and fights Hulk, and then Natasha fights Hawkeye. She knocks out Hawkeye, which essentially gets rid of the mind control on him.
The way she knocks him out, though, that hurts my skull. Because they're on a railing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And she just slams his head down. I'm like, oh.
She slams his head right into a metal pole.
Every time I just get a little nauseous. I'm like, how? Oh.
So that happens. And then after that, Iron Man, Captain America, they get the thing spinning again. And they're all kind of separate. Agent Coulson ends up dying in the process from Loki. Loki stabs him with the scepter. And then after that, they're all kind of separated. But then Dr. Selvig, he has the Tesseract on top of Stark Tower and creates that portal. So that way the Chitauri, which Loki is commanding, this army of Chitauri, can come in, take over the Earth. And So all the Avengers start assembling. They get together again, and then they start having this huge battle. And I think it's in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And then they're starting to fight, doing all this stuff, trying to make sure that they can contain all these aliens to where they need to be to keep the fight. After that, you have Nick Fury. He kind of has like a council or a board, if you want to call it.
Oh, right, yeah, like getting all the different screens.
Like a board of directors, if you want to call it that.
What they need to do for this.
Well, they're like, if we got to contain this, so they're like, we're sending a nuclear missile to blow up Manhattan. Nick Fury's like, no, we're not going to do that. You're going to kill millions of innocent people. And so they launch the missile. All the Avengers are fighting. Iron Man sees this missile, and he takes the missile, puts it up through the dimensional hole.
Yeah, like the little wormhole that allows the Chitauri to come into our universe.
And so he puts it up there. The nuclear bomb hits the mothership. All the Chitauri, they end up dying. And then Iron Man falls back through the porthole. Hulk saves them. They're all good. End of the movie. They saved everything. And
Thor takes Loki and the Tesseract back to Asgard for safekeeping and for a trial.
And then after that, pretty much everybody's good to go. And then it's seen later in the movie that the guy who sent Loki, the big head honcho, so this big head honcho says, Loki, you go do this, take the Chitauri and whatever. That head honcho, we find out, is Thanos.
Ooh, who's Thanos?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
He looks like a big purple meanie, in my opinion.
Yeah. We don't know yet.
The weird chin. I don't know.
We really don't know yet. This is all a surprise.
I know.
We will see what happens. So that's pretty much the whole movie. There's a lot of individual things that I left out, which are great. So we're going to jump into some of our favorite scenes, quotes, whatever. So, Greg, what is, maybe not the top one, but what is one of your favorite scenes in this movie? Because to be honest, there's each individual scene has so many amazing moments.
I know.
And each character has so many amazing moments where it's like, if we were to go through it like we normally do, I just would quote the whole movie, or I'd say just go watch the whole movie.
Honestly, yeah. Or we would make this into like a part 2, like a part 1 and a part 2. For me, though, it is a tall order. I immediately think of my top 3 scenes. And if I had to choose to start, it would probably be, I really do like the part where they're taking, like they actually get Loki and they're taking him back to the S.H.I.E.L.D. Helicraft or helicarrier.
Whatever.
Yeah, that floating fortress that Chris mentioned. And Thor comes in and takes Loki. And then there's that fight, brawl between Iron Man and Thor in the forest. I thought it was really cool. And then, of course, Captain America, steps in. You can already tell that, of course, Tony, he wants to be the top dog. He likes calling the shots, all this stuff. And with Thor in the picture, I think Tony, you could tell he was a little bit nonplussed with the addition of Thor, since it seemed like he's a big shot. He's got the power to boot. And I definitely see that friction between both of them. Again, they're both on different levels. Thor doesn't realize that this is the Avengers, like what they're exactly doing. So they're still on a different page. But that forest scene is just phenomenal. I like that internal conflict, especially with when you have two very well-known Marvel superheroes come together for the first time under stressing circumstances. Like both of them want Loki, but both of them don't know why the other wants Loki.
Yeah.
It's that back history, especially with Thor and what's currently happening with Iron Man. So I really liked that and how they were able to introduce Thor into the mix. Because again, when I first watched the movie, for the longest time, Thor wasn't there. I'm like, where's Thor? What's happening? The Avengers assembled. Why isn't he here? I thought they did a great job with deciding on how to bring him into the movie, especially with that scene. And just, again, how Loki... He's like, okay, Thor's coming. I can't really help it more than you do. We just got to go with the flow. He's like, yeah, I'm not really particularly fond of what follows after thunder. I love that quote. Like what you said, yeah, of lightning. I love, that's one of my favorite lines of the movie. So yeah, just to start things off, that would be my favorite scene. How about you?
Oh man, there's so many good scenes. One of my kind of favorite fun interactions
Sure.
is between Pepper Potts and Iron Man
Yeah.
in the beginning of the
Okay.
movie, when essentially Iron Man sets up like the reusable, sustainable energy for like the first year for Stark Tower. And what I like about it is, he approaches Pepper Potts. He's like, "Oh, you got to give yourself some credit. 12%." And she's like, "12%." He's like, "Well, an argument can be made for 15." And so they're going back and forth. They're having a little fun. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to pay for that 12% comment later, and I'm going to pay for that in a subtle way for that 12% comment." And the Pepper Potts is not going to be that subtle. And then Agent Coulson is calling, and
Yep.
he's just like, "No, I'm not answering. I'm not answering." Eventually, Agent Cole just walks through the door. Coulson just walks through the door, and Pepper Potts is like, "Phil," and she's like, "Oh, hey, Phil," and Iron Man's like, "Phil. His first name is Agent."
That's great. I know that snarky comeback only works with Tony Stark. That's great.
Yeah. So I liked that interaction. I think my wife loves Tony Stark. She thinks his banter is hysterical.
It is, and it's so quick-witted and fast.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might not catch it on like the first go around. It's great.
So that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Very nice.
There's a lot of favorite scenes.
I know, seriously, because like the other two that I didn't pick, for instance.
Well, go ahead. What's another one?
Yeah, so I really did like when they actually put Loki in that containment pod or that cylinder, and how he was able to start sort of unscrewing the lid on each character and exposing some of their fears, some of their weaknesses, some moments that they're not particularly proud of, things like that, to try to distract them so he could maybe potentially escape, sort of disrupt the current team that Nick Fury sort of forced together, which is another interesting aspect that I really do like, how Nick Fury brought them together. Again, it's not under their own volition. Of course, it's for the the protection of the Earth.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, hey, we're all great friends. We get together. We also have great powers. Let's just save the world if anything bad happens. So they're brought together under unfortunate circumstances that they need to force to work together. So already you have tension there. You have people on different wavelengths, different modes of how to go about helping out the world or different situations. You got headstrong people, all leaders who want to make their voice heard. And again, that's a theme throughout the movie. But I think Loki latched onto that, and being the master manipulator that he was starting to unscrew that. And I really like that. Again, Tom Hiddleston is one of my favorite actors in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He plays a phenomenal Loki. And what he does in that scene, I give him so much props. And again, it's a reason why Loki is a villain to be reckoned with, because not only is he ruthless, but he's also very smart. And I think more in the mythos, he had to rely on his brains just because his brawn wasn't there. Yeah. And he felt sort of threatened by Thor's brawn, growing up. So he worked on his mind, and it was just a talent for him that he then used for evil when he was older. So again, that's another scene that stands out that I really do like.
Yeah. Another scene that I really liked in the movie was when eventually Tony Stark shows up on the ship, and he's talking with people and whatever. But one of my favorite lines is he's talking about certain things about Nick Fury in front of people, and then all of a sudden people are thinking that he's strange, and then he's like, "That man's playing Galaga. You didn't think we would notice, but we do."
Yeah. That's great.
It's very funny. And then he talks about different compounds and how to make the portal work, and he's using all these big words, and then Dr. Banner's going back and forth, and he's like finally somebody who speaks English. And so they're going back and forth a little bit, and then Nick Fury he's like, "I want to know what Loki has done to make some of the top guys, that some of the smartest men that I've ever met, essentially turn into his personal flying monkeys. And Thor's like, flying monkeys? And Captain America's like, I understood that reference. I knew what he was talking about. So it was funny because it was like, yeah, you got it, because it had to do with, with the Wizard of Oz and the flying monkeys. Because that movie came out before
he was frozen.
Before he was frozen.
Yeah.
I think that movie came out in like the 1930s.
I think it was 1939 maybe?
Or something like that. But so Captain America knew that, and it was like one of those small little funny references that I really liked in the movie. So like that was one of my favorite scenes. What about you?
So yeah, to round out the top three, it would have to be the helicarrier sort of impromptu, maybe not planned for battle. When Clint Barton takes out one of those turbines, things just quickly go down the drain, and that's when the Hulk comes out. And I really like that fight between Thor and the Hulk, especially when, of course, Thor uses his hammer, Mjolnir, and Hulk tries to pick it up, but he can't, which is so funny to see, like this big hulking mass. He can't lift a little small hammer, but, given the aspects of what Mjolnir stands for and, characters who can only lift it because if they're worthy. So I really did like that scene because a lot of things were also happening around it. You had still the mind-controlled minions of Loki coming in, trying to sabotage it and save Loki. And then you had different Avengers split up to try to take care of all those little leaks in the ship, so to speak, sort of patch them. And then you have, in my eyes, like the main event of the whole thing is just that battle between Thor and the Hulk. And at first, Thor doesn't want to fight the Hulk because he knows that they need him. They're a part of the team of the same team. But nearing the end, the Hulk starts to get Thor riled up to where he starts to then maybe fight back a little bit too hard. But again, it's just a great scene because, well, obviously when Bruce Banner becomes the Hulk, he can't really control the Hulk that much or that well. And Thor, who is now more of an enlightened Asgardian, given his solo movie and what he went through, he tries to keep a level head, tries to calm him down and not fight him, but eventually, takes the bait, so to speak, and then, sort of launches into this brawl. So really enjoyed that whole interplay, just because so many things are going on in that scene, and they switch from different Avengers that it always keeps it moving. I'm always looking forward to, everybody's path and what they're focused on in that certain dilemma. Yeah. How about you? What rounds out your top three?
Oh man, that's tough.
How about the rest of the movie? No.
Well, one of my favorite scenes is on the ship as well, is when all the Avengers are together and essentially, they find out, Tony Stark finds out that Nick Fury hasn't been honest with them and that he's using the Tesseract to build weapons of mass destruction. And, Captain America, he finds some actual weapons, so he's not happy about that. Dr. Banner isn't happy. Tony Stark isn't happy. And they're all going back and forth about this kind of stuff. And then the banter between each character, like especially Captain America and Tony, is insane. It was like,
yes,
Captain America's like, you're nothing but a man in a, you're a man in a suit. You get rid of the suit. What are you? Tony's like, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. And he's like, yeah, well, I know guys who have none of that and are worth 10 times as much as you. And then Tony comes back. He's like, you know what, Rogers? Everything that was special about you came out of a bottle. And it was like really going back at each other. And then
deep digs.
Yeah,
too.
And then Cap's like, you're not the one to make the sacrifice play. You're not the one to lay down on the wire. And then Iron Man's like, oh, I'll just cut the wire. And Cap's like, oh, there's always a way out for you, isn't there? And it's like, oh, like that back and forth. And then, Nick Fury's like, the reason why we had them is because of him. And there he points at Thor. And Thor's like, what? I didn't do anything. It's like, you guys are supposed to be so much more involved and you're doing this, and this is telling the universe that you're ready for a higher form of war. And then Natasha and Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner get into it. And the interaction of like the complexities and the depth of the characters, and it gets so well entrenched that like you start realizing, holy cow, like there is actually a lot more going on to these characters and their backstories and what they think is right, what they think the other person is doing is wrong. So there's just a lot of amazing stuff that I love with that specific scene.
Right. I mean, it always seems like there's more of an interesting movie to be made if you have the good guys sort of at odds with each other. Like a smooth team is always fun to watch just because, they kick butt, take names. But it's always, for me, I think it's more interesting and it brings out more of an entrancing storyline when you do have the people who are supposed to be on the same team at odds with each other, sort of warring against each other, on what should be done or, how to go about certain things. I find that very, very interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about this movie. There's too much to get into. We did not go scene by scene because each individual scene has amazing things with it.
It does, yes. But you did a really good job at recapping it. Again, I'm sure everyone and their mother has seen the Avengers more than once.
Okay, so let me ask you, like, which character do you think stole this? Because there's, we got some heavy hitters.
We do.
This is the original group.
Yes.
So, who do you think is the winner?
I gotta give it to Iron Man.
Yep, me too.
I gotta give it to Iron Man.
Iron Man totally. I felt like Iron Man was the center point for this movie.
Yes.
I think closely followed by Cap.
Yes, very true. Yep, he's a close second.
Then Thor.
I would agree. Yeah, I think again, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk was just so new into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, they did a good job at painting a different Universal Hulk with Edward Norton's Hulk and the Incredible Hulk. But again, he was too new. He was still a pivotal aspect of the team, but I just don't think he carried it to the likes of Iron Man or Captain America or even Thor, who came in well after Mark Ruffalo's appearance.
I feel like the one who had the least amount going for him would probably be Hawkeye
yep.
in this movie.
Yep,
like,
exactly.
Some of his lines were very cliched and kind of meh,
yep.
forced.
It seems like he spent half the movie just as a mindless goon of Loki. So
I didn't think too much of his character.
Right.
Natasha Romanoff's
she sort of filled in the cracks nicely. Yeah. She did a good job at like cleaning up and making sure that the team was more well-rounded.
Yes, so I think that was great. I do think Loki's as the bad guy here. It wasn't so much scared of Loki.
No.
It was more like, okay, what is this army going to be like? So,
and it was also like, oh, a fan favorite is back. Let's just enjoy and bask in Loki's like craziness as he just marauds through Earth trying to, stabilize the Tesseract.
So that's one of the things with Loki. I felt like his character, he seemed like one of the guys who's like, I'm just trying to find any way that I can be a king of something. And his character was not, Loki, the character, is great. I think his motivation and his actual follow through on this movie was meh about it. Because when it comes down to it, I was more interested in not seeing Loki do a good job. I'd be like, okay, I want to see this army that he's talking about. And so when the army came in the Chitauri, it was definitely like a whole bunch of them. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of freaky. This is, so I thought Loki's character I think Tom Hiddleston's character, Loki, did very well, but in some ways fell short in the sense of like, he didn't seem intense in and of himself. He just seemed intense because he was just trying to capture that, like, I want to be a king.
Yeah, and it's that desperation I really sensed in this movie. He was desperate to rule something, and now it's to a point where he's taking orders from this higher being that we find out later on is Thanos.
Yep.
Whereas in Thor, he was going off of his own regard, his own devious nature to become king, and I really enjoyed that when like he was following his own path, his own decisions to make that, but now he's just a puppet. He's just a puppet, exactly, a means to an end for Thanos. But Thanos was able to sweeten the pot with Loki saying, "Hey, I'll give you Earth to rule."
Yeah.
And so that's sort of took the wind out of the sails for me for Loki, because I'm like, you could be so much more, and now you're just relegated to a pawn, really.
Yep.
So
So, I mean, like I said, there's too much for us to go into, you guys. There really is. When I was watching this movie with my wife, I was like, man, I could talk about this scene. I could talk about, and essentially it turned into the whole movie. So
that's the truth. Yeah.
Here's the thing, guys. This episode is probably going to be a little bit shorter than you're used to, mainly because when you get big movies that are like multi-character level, it's so hard to give each scene or each character justice.
Yes.
So the best thing I can say is you got to go watch the movie again.
Yes. And make sure that you comment below on what favorite scenes you have, because we want to hear it. We want to talk with you about it because, like Chris said, this is an epic movie where every scene is so pivotal. It is needed for the movie to progress, and each scene is just amazing. So we want to let you know. We want you to let us know what favorite scene you have in mind.
Yeah. So there's so much that could be said about this. So watch the movie, comment below. We'd love to interact with you.
Yes.
And everything like that. So let me ask you, Greg. This movie individually.
Yeah.
What out of 10?
So as I'm getting prepared to tell you my number that I associate with this movie, I do like this movie a lot, but when I sort of compare it to like other solo superhero movies, I find that this one did a good job at bringing them all together because they set the stage well as like groundwork.
Yep.
But again, with everything going on and with all the characters all in one place, it makes for a great movie because, of course, the fan favorites, all of them are together, star-studded cast. But it seemed like so much was going on that none really outshone the other. I mean, outside of Tony Stark sort of taking the lead, but again, they're so clumped together, so they're so close because everyone is integral in the Avengers. I would probably put this at like a 7.
Really?
A 7 out of 10, yeah. Just because I do enjoy the solo movies of those Avengers better than the team-up movie.
I disagree. I'd have to get
so
this.
So where would you put
as an individual movie?
Yeah.
I'd probably put this at a 9.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I think the way that... So this is the first time they're bringing characters together. So it's like, let's see how they do. They did it very well. They did pretty much each character justice. There were some fall shorts, with Hawkeye. But overall, the way they brought them together, the story arc, each individual scene did not seem forced. Like when they brought Thor in, it didn't seem like out of the ordinary. It's like, oh man, we captured Loki. Loki was fighting. He was showing off some of his powers, And then all of a sudden, like, Thor finally found him. And it's like, oh, well, that would make sense. If Thor finally found him, he would just show up. And so it's like things like that. And, the concept of, like, the Tesseract being very unstable. So now we have to come up with this material. So there's a lot of things I felt did very well with this movie. I felt the interaction did well, where it was one of those things where it was like, we don't disagree. I mean, we don't agree. We're fighting. And then all of a sudden the ship gets blown up and it's like, okay, well, now we got to fight.
Let's band together.
Let's put this aside.
Right.
I mean, things go well together. Everything works out. I think the movie was great. I think the actors did good. The story did good.
Not to mention the soundtrack. I mean, one of the most iconic themes.
Yes. The music.
Like, it's playing over and over in my head right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything for me, like in this movie, was hitting strides here. So I would say it was a 9 out of 10. Solid 9 out of 10.
All right.
So I would have to disagree with you on that, Greg.
Totally fine.
Out of all the Marvel movies that we have so far,
Oh my gosh.
where would you put the Avengers?
So far, you mean like phase 1 only?
No, out of all of them that we have.
Oh, good lord. So I would probably put it like 9 or 10.
Really? Not in the top 5?
No.
Not in the top 5.
It barely squeaks into top 10 for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you? Obviously, I sort of see a top 5.
It's in the top 5.
Coming. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the top 5. So far we have Iron Man in the top 5 and Avengers in the top 5. Okay. I'm interested. What's in your top 5 right now?
So right now,
I think it's just Iron Man, right, for you?
Iron Man, Thor.
Iron Man and Thor.
Yes. And can we talk about other ones that happen down the road, or are we going to wait?
We're going to wait.
Okay, so the ones that we talked about right now for the podcast continuity.
And things may change. After you
true.
After we rewatch the movies, things may change.
It's very true.
So right now I have Avengers, Iron Man, and then I said 6, but 6. This one might actually go up in 5, depending on how the movies go. But I said Thor.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so far you might have 3 in the top 5.
Potentially 3.
Potentially. For me, it's still 2. It's Iron Man and Thor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anything else about the movie that you want to hit on that was worth mentioning?
No, I think you did a great job, especially recently, is talking about how everything just came together right. It was sort of like the Iron Man of the Avengers saga, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, because of course it was like the first ever multi-dimensional team-up movie that again just laid the stage, and I do believe that's the best Avengers film. Actually, no, I take that back after thinking about it, because I was thinking about just the first 3. So hold that thought.
I don't know if I'd say it's the best Avengers
again,
movie.
I'll have to rewatch. Going down the line, we're going to be touching upon the forthcoming show. So yeah, I could have spoken a little too early on that.
I don't think there's really anything else to mention about this movie. There is tons to mention. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah. You could tell it was a huge blockbuster. The CGI was phenomenal.
Yep.
I didn't mention this in the last episode, but for Thor, I thought that it was slightly lacking. It sort of looked a little dated.
A little bit.
Yeah. I could sort of tell, but with the Avengers, they did a really good job. And it just made me look forward to more of what they had in store for us.
I would say
the story.
This movie solidified that Marvel knew what they were doing. Like, people were like, okay, you got all these individual characters. Can you bring them all these heroes together, give them justice?
It's a tall order. It could be fun, but it could also be a train wreck.
And so they did such a good job with it. The scope that they... So, like I said, Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Captain America, and you could say The Incredible Hulk. Good movies in their own right. But then once Thor came in, bumped it up to another level. And then I think with Avengers, it went even farther. Because now it's like, we're going, different worldly with Thor. And then with Avengers, it's like different worldly. But then there's even more craziness in that otherworldly aspect that we haven't even began to really hit on yet.
Yeah, and again, like they raised the stakes enough because they also raised what we had in store for us for a superhero team.
Yeah.
Because it's no fun if you bring everyone together and there's just a limited antagonist or like a limited scope where it's not as demanding, I guess, of a task for everyone to then fall to and maybe see a sort of struggle with. Of course, when you bring everyone together, you need sort of a balance. You need that huge thing that makes the world and the universe even more at stake, so you can actually feel like, oh, will they be able to succeed? Or if they do, at what expense? So I think, again, they rose it up equally, and it definitely met the match.
Yep. All right, you guys, that is all we have for you today, talking about Avengers. It was a great time.
Awesome.
Covered a lot of stuff, even though we didn't even talk a lot about the movie.
I know.
But we did cover a lot. I would recommend, once again, go watch the movie.
Yes.
Before you do anything else, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell.
Yes.
You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Follow us on all those. Make sure you comment, talk to us. We do respond, and we try to respond as fast as possible to anybody that does comment. Once again, we will be ending the giveaway for March. We have a giveaway we're doing that runs through the end of March. Maybe we could do the end of the first week in April, because that's when the first phase ends.
For us, yeah.
So we'll think about that one. We'll let you guys know. But there is a giveaway happening for sure until the end of the month. So you have till the end of the month to be a part of it. Greg, you want to tell us how people can be entered into that giveaway?
Yes. It's really easy, and you're able to enter in more than one time. So keep that in mind. Just make sure you share the post of our podcast on any of the social media outlets that we post it on, and make sure you tag a family member or a friend in that post. Or you can also share the picture of the giveaway, again, on any social media post. Make sure you also tag a family member or a friend. You can post it multiple times with different friends or family. The more times you enter, the better chance you have at potentially getting this giveaway.
Yep. All right, you guys. It was a pleasure speaking with you. It was fun wrapping up phase 1.
Wow.
Next week, we are going to take a little bit of a hiatus from talking about Marvel. We're going to get into other things, Disney.
So excited for this next one, guys.
So there might be some people who are like, oh, thank goodness we're done with Marvel. Trust me, we got the rest of the year to talk about Marvel.
It's coming back.
But we also want to talk about other things Disney related as well, because Disney, we were talking about this. There's stuff we are about 4 or 5 months into this. We haven't even talked about any Pixar movies, any Disney Channel original TV shows, Disney Channel original movies, parks. We haven't really talked about resorts, food, Disney Cruise Line,
the
BBC,
history. I mean, it goes on and on. So we are so excited to be able to roll this all out and share our love of Disney with you. So again, we thank you for tuning in, either over your podcast or on YouTube. Really do appreciate it. If you are listening in podcast form, make sure that you follow us and give us that 5-star review. That'll help us out greatly. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in and being here to get your Disney fix.
Peace.